You've held this thing 100 times and never once really looked at it. That flat, dusty panel in your hand is the cheapest part in the whole system. $2, $3. And right now, there's a real good chance that little filter is quietly wrecking the most expensive machine in your house. And here's where most people get it wrong. They figure if the filter's the problem, the answer must be a better filter, a stronger one, the expensive box on the shelf, covered in promises, the name brand that's got to beat the $2 one, right? Save yourself the money. It's almost never the brand. The damage isn't coming from which filter you bought. It's coming from one of 7 things people do to the filter they've already got. And any one of them can take that $3 part and turn it into a coil cleaning, a burned out blower, or a repair bill with a comma in it. I spent 25 years pulling filters out of systems just like yours. In attics, in closets, in hallway ceilings, for the same kind of company that writes those repair bills. And I'll tell you what was behind almost every one of those no-cool calls. Not a bad machine, and not the brand, a filter. Put in wrong, left in too long, or the wrong size for the slot. Because that filter isn't there to clean your air. It's there to protect the machine. And when it fails at that job, the damage doesn't show up on the filter where you'd catch it. It shows up downstream on the machine. First as a cleaning, then as a part, then as a whole new system. So here's the part that should make you a little angry. You could own the most expensive system on the street with the best name on the side of it and still make every one of these 7 mistakes, because not one of them is about what you bought. Every one of them is about what you're doing to it. So let me walk you through all 7, starting with the one you're probably holding right now. The first mistake is the filter itself. Not an expensive filter, a cheap one. But the wrong kind of cheap. Look at the one you've got. If it's a flat panel you can almost see through, spun out of loose fiberglass, usually blue or green, $1 or $2 at the store, that's a bug screen. That's all it is. It was built back when the only job was keeping leaves and lint and dog hair out of the fan. And it's very good at that one job. What it can't do is catch the fine dust, the flower fine stuff floating around in every house, the skin cells, the fabric fibers, the dust you only notice in a sunbeam. That goes straight through the fuzzy panel and lands where you can't see it, on the cold, wet coil deep inside your system. Coat that coil in a layer of fine dust, and it can't pull the heat out of your air anymore. It just runs and barely cools. And you'd never once think to blame that flat little filter. Now, your own tech may have told you to buy the cheapest filter you can find and change it often. And you know what? He's right about the price, and he's right that a thin filter breathes easy. I'm not telling you to go spend $40 on a filter. I'm telling you to skip the flat, fuzzy panel and grab the cheap pleated one instead. The folded, accordion-looking kind. It costs a couple dollars more, it breathes almost exactly the same, and it stops the dust that would have cost you a coil cleaning. Cheap and folded, good. Flat and fuzzy, that's the miss. And whether the expensive filter is ever worth it, or when it turns around and hurts you, that's a whole other video up on the screen at the end. Quick thing before the next one. Everything I picked up about this stuff over 25 years, every fix, every number, what a fair price looks like, and what a scare tactic looks like, I put all of it into a plain book called the HVAC Survival Guide. It's over at raydutton.com if you want it. No pressure, it's just there. All right, mistake 2. The second mistake is the most common one there is. You leave the filter in too long. Now everybody knows a dirty filter is bad, but most people picture it the wrong way. They think a clogged filter just chokes off the air, and it does do that, but there's a second thing that happens that nobody warns you about, and it's worse. A filter isn't a wall, it's a net, And once that net fills up all the way, it stops catching anything new. The dirt has nowhere to go but through. So a filter left in for 6 months doesn't just block your air. It starts letting go of what it already caught, and it starts shedding all that packed dirt downstream, straight onto your coil. And on top of that, a thick mat of trapped dust sitting in the damp air near a cold coil is exactly where mold likes to start. So the filter you kept meaning to change is now feeding your coil dirt and growing something in your ductwork. People ask me all the time how often to change it, and the honest answer is the calendar on the box is a guess. Every 3 months means nothing if you've got 2 dogs and it's 100 degrees out and the thing is black by week 5. So do this instead. Pull it out and hold it up to a window or a light. If you can't see light through it, it's done, today, no matter what the box said. That one look tells you more than any schedule ever will. Third mistake, you put it in backwards. This one feels impossible because a filter is just a square. How can a square go in backwards? But look at the edge of a pleated filter. There's an arrow printed right on the cardboard frame. That arrow isn't decoration. It has to point the same way the air flows, which is into the machine toward the fan. Why does that matter? A good pleated filter has a stiff mesh or a wire backing on one side to hold those pleats open against the pull of the fan. Put it in backwards, and that support is now on the wrong side. So the fan pulls against the soft, unsupported face, and the pleats collapse and pack together, and the whole filter bows inward in the middle. 2 bad things happen at once. The collapsed filter chokes the air down, and worse, the bowing pulls the edges away from the frame and opens up gaps. Now dirty air is pouring around your filter, and if it bows far enough, the fan can start pulling the filter material itself loose and sucking it in. The fix costs you nothing. Find the arrow and point it toward the unit, the way the air is moving. And once you've got it right, take a marker and draw that same arrow on the metal right next to the slot. Then you never have to guess again. The fourth mistake happens during the change itself. You swap the filter with the system still running. I understand why. You're already standing there, the air's on, you just slide the old one out and the new one in. Feels harmless. But think about what that filter slot is while the fan is running. It's a vacuum. The whole system is pulling air in through that opening, hard. So the second you slide that loaded, dirty filter out, all that suction grabs the cloud of dust coming off it and pulls it straight down into the system, into the fan, and onto the coil. Every bit of dirt you were trying to get rid of, you just delivered to the worst possible place. And if that old filter's a little weak or a little torn, the suction can tear a piece off and pull it right into the blower wheel. That wheel's spinning hundreds of times a minute, so now you've got a rattle or a shake or a motor fighting against a chunk of filter. The fix takes 10 seconds. Before you touch the filter, walk over to the thermostat and shut the system off. Let the fan stop spinning, then change it, then turn it back on. That's the whole thing. Never pull a filter while the air is moving. The fifth mistake does the fastest damage of all. Running with no filter in at all. This happens 2 ways. Some folks pull the filter out on purpose because they heard more airflow is good, and no filter means the most airflow, right? Other folks pull it out just to look at it, get distracted, and forget to put one back. And then weeks go by with an empty slot. Either way, here's what's going on in there. That coil inside your system is cold and wet. It's covered in condensation the whole time the AC is running, like a glass of ice water sitting out on a summer day. Now you're pulling raw, unfiltered household air across that wet surface at full speed. Every bit of dust and hair and grit hits it and sticks instantly and cements itself right on. It doesn't brush off. In just a few weeks, a system with no filter can foul a coil worse than years of normal running. And a caked coil means a service call and a chemical cleaning. $400, maybe $700 if they have to pull the coil out to reach it. Let it go long enough and that coil gets replaced, and now you're looking at $1,000 to $4,000. So the rule is simple. There's always a filter in that slot. Even a cheap one is 100 times better than an empty hole. And if your system only seems to run right with the filter out, that's not a fix. That's a warning sign, and something else is wrong that a real pro needs to look at. The sixth mistake is a trap because it comes from trying to do the right thing. It's the reusable filter you put back wet. Some systems come with a washable filter, a permanent one, usually a plastic or metal mesh that you're supposed to rinse out and reuse instead of throwing it away. Sounds great, saves money, less waste, and washing it is fine. That part isn't the mistake. The mistake is what people do next. They rinse it in the sink, give it a shake, and slide it right back in, still dripping wet. And you just took a soaking wet object and put it into the darkest, most humid part of your house, right in front of a cold coil that's already damp. Mold doesn't need much of an invitation to that. It needs water, it needs dark, and it needs something to eat. And you just handed it all three. Within a few days, you can have a colony growing on that filter and on the coil behind it. And then every time the system kicks on, it blows the smell and the spores out through every vent in the house. You know that sour, musty locker room smell some people get from their vents? A lot of the time, this is right where it starts. And the ones who feel it worst are the kids and the older folks in the house. So the fix here is easy. If you've got a washable filter, wash it and then let it dry all the way. Completely dry, hours, not minutes, before it goes anywhere near that slot. And for most people, I'd just switch over to the cheap pleated throwaways and skip the whole problem. Which brings me to the seventh mistake. And this is the one that bothers me the most because you can do everything else right and this one still gets you. This is the wrong size filter. Picture this. You bought the good pleated filter, not the fuzzy panel. You put it in facing the right way. You change it on time. You did everything I just told you. And your coil is still getting filthy and your system is still struggling to cool. How is that even possible? Because the filter's a little too small for the slot and your air is walking right around it. And almost nobody knows this part. The size printed on your filter isn't the real size. A filter marked 16 by 20 is really about 1/4 to 1/2 inch smaller than that, so it slides in and out easy. That's normal. Every filter's made that way. But if you grab the wrong size, or the slot's a little oversized, or the filter's just sitting loose in there, you end up with a gap around the edge, and air takes the easy path. Given the choice between pushing through a filter and slipping around a gap right next to it, a whole lot of your air just goes around. A gap the width of a pencil is enough to do it, and that air, with all its dirt, never touches the filter at all. It goes straight to the coil. So you've got a brand new, correct, perfectly clean filter sitting in there looking great, and it's doing almost nothing because half your air is going around it instead of through it. This is the one that makes people swear up and down their filter is fine and the unit must be junk. The filter is fine. The fit is the problem. You can check it in about 10 seconds. Pull the filter out, look at the slot, and make sure the one you buy really fills that opening. Snug on all 4 sides, no daylight around the edges. If there's a gap, you can seal that solid outer edge with a strip of foil tape or step up to a filter that fills the opening the right way. Once it seals, your air has no choice but to go through it, which was the whole point of putting it there. So let me put the money together for you because this is where it adds up. Every one of these 7 mistakes ends up in the same place: a dirty coil, a strained blower, or mold in your system. And the bills climb in a straight line. It starts at a $4 filter. Ignore it, and it becomes a $400 to $700 coil cleaning. Ignore that, and the coil or the blower motor gets replaced, $500 to a few $1,000s. And ignore that long enough, and one day somebody's standing in your kitchen telling you the whole system is shot and you need a new one for $8, $10, $14,000. Same house, same brand, and every bit of it started with a filter. Now, I'm not telling you every company is out to get you. Most of the people who show up at your door are just doing what they were taught, and nobody up the chain ever handed out a bonus for telling a homeowner the $4 part was the whole problem. The incentive is just built into how the thing works, which is exactly why it has to be you who knows this, and now you do. So do me a favor tonight. Go pull your filter out and look at it, and tell me in the comments what you find. What size is on the box, what kind it is, and when you changed it last. I read every single one, and if it turns out to be the fuzzy panel, or it's black with dirt, or it's sitting loose in the slot, well, now you know exactly what to do about it. And that other video on whether the expensive filter's ever worth it is right here on the screen. Go watch that one next. I'm Ray Dutton. Keep your cool, and I'll see you in the next one.